This past weekend, I watched 2 movies and a television series, and I'm here to talk about it. If you're wondering what I'm drinking here, it's just water. It's not chai, coffee, or anything. My mouth just gets so dry when I talk too much, and I do talk a lot sometimes. Okay, today I don't have a script or any bullet points, so I'll be skipping from one thing to the next, so please keep up. The first movie that I watched was Kantara Chapter 1, which is actually a prequel. I watched this in a theater, IMAX actually, because I just knew it would not be the same as watching it on TV someday when it's on OTT. So Kantara was a good movie, but it was not great like its predecessor. I just love that movie so much. I have to get back to talking about it. I had at least never seen local culture, tribal culture represented like that ever in any movie or documentary or show. And Rishabh Shetty, who I keep calling Rohit Shetty, he was born for this character. He is so good as a possessed man. I'm just gonna call the sequel Kantara 2, okay? Because Kantara Chapter 1 is just too lengthy. So Kantara 2, as I said, was good. I'll give you a gist of the story. So it takes place some 1000 or 2000 years back, nowhere near current time. The movie starts with a little sequence where we get to know that there is a forest god who protects the tribals from mainly the greedy outsiders, and that's generally the king's people. So there's a kingdom outside the forest, and these guys always want the Kantara land and its resources because it was very valuable. Next we see there is an abandoned baby, but this baby is obviously blessed because he was found in this cave, which actually looked like a well, but it's a cave, and the forest god resides in this cave. So naturally there is some connect. The child grows up and he has some powers, like he can see people or sages that others cannot see, and he can speak to them. He also grows up to be very, very strong. His name is Berme, so Rishabh Shetty's character is Berme, and his main job, I figured, was to protect the tribals from outsiders. But that is not all Berme wanted out of his life. He, I think, must have watched some YouTube videos on growth mindset, because now he wants to be an entrepreneur. He discovers there's a marketplace outside the forest where people have been trading resources like spices and all, which they've been stealing from the forest where these guys live. So he decides that if these guys can steal our resources and trade and flourish, why can't we do it ourselves? Bad decision, because now two worlds who have been forbidden to come together collide, and therefore there is a conflict. Apart from the kingdom and Berme's tribe, there is one more tribe that is more inside the forest, and these guys are super evil. They do black magic and shit. So the king and this very evil tribe, the second tribe, they collude later on, and that is how the climax happens, because there's a sort of war battle between Berme's tribe and the king's tribe and the king's army. And then all of it culminates in that really outstanding climax where again Rishabh Shetty is possessed by the Deva, and we have a mind-blowing visual spectacle. This doesn't sound like much, does it? It's not. While the movie visually looks amazing, the story is kind of weak. The first half was, I didn't even know what was going on. It was like a slice of life movie. It was slow. I think one issue is that I went for this movie expecting something like the first movie, but this was more repetitive. This was more like Kantara with a lot of garnishings, and the garnishing was so much that it kind of distracted from the main story. And there wasn't much of a story anyway to begin with. Berme's character does not really wow you. He is super strong, but then I think all these other men from Kantara were also super strong. Now you will say, so what? At least visually it was spectacular. I agree, but let's not forget that CGI cartoonish troll monster in the cave, the Brahma Rakshas. You know, they could have just brought back that smoky entity which was beating everybody up in the beginning of the movie instead of doing this. Then the trope of the person who's so nice, so helpful, so beautiful, turning out to be super evil is also something which is not very new. One detail I would like to point out, which I really liked, was the grandfather and granddaughter foreshadowing. We see the king sharing the throne with his tiny granddaughter in some scenes, and I was like, that's so cute. But later we see another grandfather-granddaughter alliance This time it's very evil, which is a very nice parallel to these previous scenes. The movie also has some comedy, which I think it shouldn't have had because it just didn't fit and it was so unnecessary. Also, a 3-hour runtime, it's just too long. The movie also had some over-the-top moments which were repetitive. Like every time the Deva possessed Berme, people stood back with folded hands and reverence and shock. See, this can work only once in the movie and it has to be a very important part. Now, since the runtime is so long, there are 2 or 3 important points. So by the third time it happened, I was like, okay, just let's move on with it. I get it. So there's a Deva in his body. He's going to bash everyone up. It is spectacular, but let's just hurry up now. The next movie I watched was Mirai. I watched it at home and I did watch it in the theater when it was released, but I just didn't speak about it because I procrastinated a little too long. Mirai, I feel, was more of a devotional sort of a movie more than a superhero movie. The story starts back in the Ashokan era where, not Lord Ashoka, Emperor Ashoka, he split the secret of immortality in 9 books. These 9 books were protected in 9 different parts of the world so that it does not come into some evil person's hand who will get all the power and destroy the world. Guess what happens? An evil person gets hold of all 9 books and tries to destroy the world. So now it's on Veda, who is the main hero, superhero, to defeat this guy and protect the world. Who is Veda? He is the product of nepotism. A word everybody hates, but I don't know why. Isn't it like most natural to kind of give your kid some advantage in life? Though I would say his mom, Ambika, gave him some serious disadvantage. Because who wants to fight evil people and almost die several times? Ambika was this sage and she lived in a monastery and she used to have visions because that was her superpower. One day her vision showed her that some really evil person got hold of all the books and is out to destroy the world. Ambika was also the custodian of the 9th book and she made sure to go and hide it somewhere in the Himalayas, and nobody knew about it except this sage called Agastya who spoke in Shuddh Hindi or Sanskrit. I watched the dubbed version, by the way. So I could not understand a lot of what he was saying, which was also the problem with Kantara too. Ambika was pregnant when she went to the Himalayas to hide the book. Once the child is born, she abandons him. The child grows up as an orphan. He has no idea who his mother is. Till 24 years later, another monk from the same monastery, her name is Vibha, who comes to look for him because she needs him to step up his game and get into the role of a superhero. And after some initial kitchpitch, he eventually accepts it and somehow he just knows all these action moves and he is this cool guy. Literally very poor character building. On the other hand, we have the villain, Mahabir Lama, who is given such a strong backstory. You know what? I see him. I see why he is so pissed off. He has been through it all. He obviously wants to destroy the world. He's not just some guy who's born to some villain, so now he is the next super villain. He's literally a kid who trains himself, who learns black magic and masters it. He's worked for his villainy. He also has this super cool black hologram sword. This movie, again, visual treat to some extent, but it was fraught with funny, weird details. For example, Vibha, I mean, what was her character? She was just so candy floss and she just had this one monotonous face and no inflections in her tone. Or maybe that was bad dubbing. Dubbing is a huge big problem with this movie. So there is a lady, ninja sort of a lady, and she's a bad guy. And she's putting so much effort in the action sequences, but the dubbing is so off, and I know she's speaking in a foreign language, I guess, but it was so off-putting. I was like, dude, what is happening? Then there is the sage Agastya. He's a very famous actor. You may know him by face, even if you don't follow South Indian movies a lot. So in the first half, while he is speaking with Ambika, he, as I said, he was speaking in all these Shuddh Hindi, and he's speaking like a sage, like a textbook. Not a textbook, like a scripture. And then when he's conversing with Veda, he's speaking like Gen Z, like almost the yo-yo type. And he becomes this quasi-comedic character Like, why was that even necessary? Then Veda goes to the Himalayas, to really icy places in search of Mirai, which is the holy or magical staff. And he does all this in summer clothes. Like, why didn't the costume department give him a jacket or something? How will he defeat Mahabir if he dies of hypothermia before that? Coming back to the weird details. So there is a scene where Vibha is being tortured and her nails are being pulled out. And then when we see her next in some scene, after a few minutes, she has no signs of torture on her. Her nails have grown back. She's just chilling and, whatever, running around and worrying, like, my God, what will happen to Veda. Here's the thing that I want to talk about. So you make a movie which will remind you of like 10 other movies. It will remind you of Avengers. It will remind you of Doctor Strange and Deadpool with all the katana fights. It will also remind you of The Last Airbender. Like, this was not too much as it is. You put in the religion factor. And our country, not too many people will talk shit about your movie if you throw in a god or two. The movie was fun, but too many parts of it didn't make sense to me. Coming to the performances, Shreya Sarin was amazing. Teja Sajja was okay. Agastya's character was confusing. So if he was meant to be the serious person, he was good in the first half. And then if he was meant to be this fun person, that was also kind of okay. But it's difficult to accept that these two sets of characteristics can be found in the same person. Another performance that people are not talking at all about is the adolescent version of Mahabir. So there is a child version, there is a medium version, 17, 18 or 16 age ka version of Mahabir, and then there is the adult Mahabir. The adult Mahabir is all cool and chill. He's been a bad guy for quite some time. The young kid, he's just a kid. The middle guy, he is so intense and he puts in so much effort. I don't know his name. I tried to look it up and I saw IMDb, but his picture is not there, so I don't know if it's the person I'm talking about. Vibha, I don't know what was happening. I think that maybe the character was not written well, so she couldn't do much. There's also a cameo by the roadies guy. He has a twin. They look so alike. I don't know who it was. But it was funny. It was unnecessary, but it was so funny. Mirai is on an OTT platform right now. Let me just check. It's on Sony Live, so you can check it out. The series that I watched this weekend was called Search, the Naina Murder Case. It's on Hotstar, just 5 episodes. Yay. I'll give you an overview of the story. So Konkona Sen Sharma, she is retiring from her department and moving to a different department. And in the last few days of her tenure, she happens upon a case which involves the dead body of a young girl found in the car of a politician. Now, okay, the car does not actually belong to the politician. It was just a part of his campaign. She was not supposed to work on this case. Her senior asks her to take it on and keeps extending her tenure, which she hates, which her family hates, her husband, her daughter, I think even her mom hates. But when you have someone that good and the person who is her replacement is kind of a hothead, Jay, he is helpful, but he's a hothead, and you kind of know as the show unfolds that maybe this guy wouldn't be able to solve it. The show is gripping. It gives you an insight into the sort of social pressures youngsters have. You understand that there's so much going on in a young woman's life at any point of time, and we don't really see it. They just look like normal people, but they have issues with their family. They have their boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, friends who are actually jealous of them, frenemies. They have teachers, they have academics, they have so much going on. And while I kept guessing, okay, maybe this person killed her, that person killed her, it was really scary that there could be so many motives to kill just one person. So if you've not watched the original Danish series or the English version, it's called The Killing, you don't know who kills the girl. The show ends on a cliffhanger and I'm really waiting for the next season. Konkona Sen Sharma's acting is, as usual, 10 on 10. There's no overacting, there's no underacting. She's not making all those hoo-ha faces that we always see. She's really one of my favorites. The show was gripping and thrilling and I'm glad I watched it. I'm currently watching a show called Janavar. I used to think it's Janavar, but it's Janavar. And I'm 1 episode away from finishing it. So I'll talk about that next in a couple of days. So let me know if you are also watching it, what you think about these movies and shows. And happy Diwali! In case you're watching this on Diwali, it's in a few days. Bye. Hey, I'm Jessica. I'm the person who talks to you about movies and shows without getting too technical. So please subscribe to my channel if you enjoy watching movies and shows or just talking about